Docker Swarm application that we deployed in the last video. So if I do docker service ls, we can see that the elk stack as well as the application has been deployed and is running. So you can see here the API, gateway, and DB, which again, to recap, the gateway is an Nginx server. It's running here on manager 1. And you have the elk stack distributed amongst the worker nodes and manager node. And then you have the DB, which is MongoDB, and a RESTful service, which is StrongLoop. So the first step that we're going to do here is we're going to decide to scale out the Nginx server to 3 replicas. So it's very simple. Just do docker service scale, the name of the service, gateway in this case, and scale to 3. And you can see that we want to have 3 replicas, and right now we only have 1 running. So it'll start up 2 more, and it's distributed those to worker 1 and worker 2. And you can see that they're preparing now, and soon they'll be in the running state. And then we'll be able to have load basically automatically load balanced by the swarm between those 3 instances. And that's taken care of automatically by the swarm. So the next thing I want to do is, let's say I want to do an actual host OS upgrade. And I want to make sure that I don't affect any of the containers that may be running on that VM. So I can update the node. I can do docker node update availability. In this case, I want to drain the node. Pause would mean that no new containers would be scheduled, but the existing ones would remain. And active means that it's active and you can just schedule containers at will on that node. So I'm just going to do docker node update availability, and I'm going to drain that node. And this is going to tell the swarm to move all of the existing containers on that node and distribute that load to the remaining swarm members, which would be manager 1 and worker 1. Okay, so that's going to drain StrongLoop off of worker 2, one of the gateway instances, and also the elk, one of the elk containers. As you can see, the application is currently running. Before I do the drain, try it out just to show you again. Yep, connecting to the database, I'm getting data back. And now I'm going to actually execute this command. So docker node update availability, drain worker 2. And there we go. So the swarm is automatically rescheduling those containers onto manager 1 and worker 1. Started up that gateway fairly quickly since there was already a gateway running on manager 1. Didn't need to do a docker pull. And now StrongLoop is also being scheduled on manager 1. Okay, now it looks like the application is completely up and running. It's been rescheduled, and then if I go and refresh the StrongLoop Explorer, I should be able to still get to my application. Here it is, it's running. Should still be able to get to the data that I had saved before. So if I do a try on the get, you can see I still have the 2 records that I created in a previous video. And so the application has been rescheduled successfully, and I can go ahead and do the updates on that node and not affect the application in any way. I can also take a look at, again, the elk stack. It's still running. Remember, one of the containers was rescheduled. And if, let's say, I needed to sort of force restart all of the containers into service, and it's sort of a hack way to do that now until they have docker service restart. But you can just update an environment variable on the service, docker service update environment, maybe create an environment variable called update equals 1, and that will automatically restart. You can see here the API is getting restarted. And sometimes you may need to do that if your application sort of doesn't reconnect to the database as it should. But in this case, we didn't have a problem with that, so the application is running nicely. All right then. So the next thing that I want to do is I'm going to look at, well, I already looked at the Explorer. I already did step 4. Last thing I want to do is just show sort of the global mode that's available for services. So you can see here that we have the gateway running on manager 1 and worker 1, and I'm gonna bring worker 2 back into the fold here. I'm gonna make it active again, so that allows a swarm now to know it can schedule containers on it. And I want to distribute though my Nginx across all VMs. So I want one instance in every VM that gets added to the swarm. So I'll do that now. I'll actually just do a Docker service remove the gateway. Obviously in production this sort of would be done in a blue-green deploy way, because obviously you're affecting the availability of the application at this point. But I just removed the gateway, and I'm going to create a new gateway. But you can see that we've removed replica 1 and we've replaced it with mode global, which tells the swarm I want exactly one copy of this container on every node in the swarm. Okay, and so what's going to happen now in the visualizer is you're going to see that it's going to go ahead and it's going to schedule one instance on manager 1, worker 1, and worker 2. So I'll bring that up. We can see that we have a gateway on manager 1, one on worker 2, and maybe I just need to refresh here for a sec. There we go. So we have another one on worker 1. Okay. So now what's going to happen is if I add a new VM, for example, to this swarm, it will automatically add a new instance of that gateway onto that machine without me having to do anything. So if I do docker machine create, again, create another virtual box machine here. I'm going to call it worker 3, and I'm going to fast forward a little bit through the docker machine create because it takes a little bit of time. And here it is, it's been created, and so I'm going to just go ahead and add that to the swarm. And a very simple way to do that is to target one of the manager nodes in the swarm and find out what the join command is. So if I do docker swarm join token, I should be able to see that join token. And I can join as a manager or as a worker. I want to join this as a worker, so I want to see what that command is for a worker. So I'll go ahead and execute this command against the worker 3 node. So I'm going to select that environment, I'm going to go to worker 3, and then I'm going to just copy and paste this command. Alright, so now we see this is the state. If I go ahead and add that to the swarm, we should see a new, there it is, the new worker has been added, and automatically right away it's saying, okay, I need to schedule a new Nginx on there, and it'll go ahead and take a little bit of time to pull because it's a newer image. So I won't wait around for that, but basically it'll go ahead, start up, and you'll have more capacity on each of your ingress nodes in your swarm.